I'm David.
And I'm Lisa.
We're from RoomEscapeArtist.com.
And we're here with Matt and Mark from Gratuitous Sets. They build really cool sets.
Hey David, hey Lisa.
Hey guys, y'all actually look really good. This is, it's very clear.
This whole thing is it's really kicking off the Reality Escape Convention, the convention that we're hosting on August 23rd and 24th. It's free, it's for escape room players, it's for creators, it's for owners. If you are escape room curious, it's for you and you should come. Again, I might have mentioned it's free.
We're glad we can be here, guys.
Thanks for thinking of us. Thanks for giving us the call.
Anytime we can help.
So we have a whole bunch of questions from our readers about the future trends in the industry. The first one is, what trends are you seeing generally in escape room set design?
Trend-wise, and this is going to sound a little bit self-serving because of what we do, the unthemed Gen 1 stuff is kind of dying away because nobody wants to play a basic escape room with just a desk and, there's a thing behind the books when they can be in a submarine or a spaceship or Egypt and it doesn't have to be a super extravagant theme, but you definitely need coherent theming and puzzles that are related to that.
Even if it's a domestic scene, the room needs to be a character. Everything needs to feel like it's cohesive. If you feel like you're in a simple office space with some furniture that's kind of out of place and a bunch of locked boxes, that very early Gen 1 sort of experience, those games are dying. And they are, I think those people are realizing that you either have to step up your game or you're not going to make it unless you're in a tiny little location with no real competition. If you're in a small town somewhere, that might survive for a while. Again, because you're not bringing in other people, I think that would eventually fail. But there's a winnowing that's happening right now of games, and it needs to be of a certain caliber or it won't compete. And going on what Matt said, I think what we're talking about is it does not need to be a prehistoric jungle in order to be themed well. It can be any theme. The theme does need to be cinematic. It needs to feel like a character.
It needs to be a spaceship. That's what it comes down to. If it's not a spaceship, then I don't know what you're doing with yourself.
And the other one is doing a twist on a theme that we've already seen. Those just really light people up. And I think that the puzzles need to be integrated. We're going to talk more about this later on, because I know if you've got this number of questions, then we'll go into this later on. But the puzzles need to be part of that environment. There can't be this out of place thing here, or things are sort of lackadaisically stuck in there where they shouldn't be. But we'll talk more about that later on, I'm sure.
Looking at you, chessboard.
What techniques or products are changing the escape room industry and worth investing in?
Oh, yeah, Matt. Yeah.
Right. Tech. Touchscreens is an obvious thing. You can get those from Adafruit. We have our little mom and pop supplier down the street, and they sell those things too as well.
Little 2-inch beautiful displays that are touchscreen capacitive. Or
The older touchscreens are resistive. The newer stuff, like is on your iPhone, is a capacitive touchscreen. They work a little differently. The capacitive are better, and that's the stuff that can do the multi-touch. They're also more complex, generally speaking. But if you get any kind of Raspberry Pi or Arduino control on that one, someone has already written the library for the control. So the only thing you really have to do is the graphic design for whatever is going to be on your screen to have your players go pokey pokey at.
What techniques or products would you like to see developed for this industry?
There has been an evolution in control software. Some programmers are keeping up with their stuff and expanding it and making it better, and some are not. Some are moving backwards and not supporting as well anymore. That's a constantly evolving thing that we have to keep our eyes on. I would suggest that anybody else does the same thing. On some level, I think really what matters is that you're constantly keeping up with what's available out there, looking for new ways to do things, and pushing forward in that sort of way. Like what's available, what's reliable, what works, and just move forward in that front. What do you think?
It's not exactly new, but so everything is not bleeding edge, and when it breaks, you're like, I don't know how this works. You can go with some tried and true stuff. I'm still a big fan of Arduino because it's a good chip. It's very modular. You have plugins for basically the sound cards you can run via the Arduino and all that. So, tech. I guess the new thing is tech, and that saying it like that doesn't sound like a very good answer.
Vague.
But there it is.
Because that's always a good answer, is vague.
I would like to see reliable RFID readers that play more friendlily. That's a word.
Friendlily.
Shut it. With control tech that is not that manufacturer's control tech. There's a lot of stuff that it may flip a relay and it may work very well with its own proprietary thing, but then you have to have all of their system. And it may be out there, and I just haven't found it. But I want more reliable and kind of patch-friendly RFID.
There's a lot of technology that's been out there for a long time, and it doesn't work that consistently. And for some reason, it's still on the market, and people are still buying it. We try to find out what that stuff is and avoid the hell out of it. And look for new, better stuff that does, and/or manufacturers that put stuff out that's a reliable product.
And shock collars for players when they're doing really, really dumb destructive stuff.
I don't know why it wasn't thought of before.
Shock collars.
Shock collars.
Have you seen or participated in constructing any mixed media sets, particularly ones that involved projection mapping? What do you think about that?
We have not, but I'd say that, especially if you're talking about projection mapping, if you're doing that in a blank space, then really all you've done is sort of an AR game with no real interactive pieces in it. And if that's the case, then why not go with a haptic virtual reality game instead of that? Used in a different way, that could work. We have not done that ourselves before. So we don't really have any experience with projection mapping. I don't see us going that way for those same reasons that I just discussed. There's a different way to push things in that sort of direction if you want to go there. Hopefully that answered the question.
We're more into the tangible stuff. So when you pick up a prop, you can feel it in your hand and it has some mass to it and some texture. Whereas projection mapping can look really cool, but I don't think that would translate as well in person.
It could work as a set extension if you wanted a cliff. You know, if you wanted to do something dimensionally with a space that you weren't otherwise able to. But again, there's a limited window where you'd want to use that stuff, and I don't see it being terribly practical.
Can immersive, high-quality set design help attract a wider audience besides just the puzzle people?
Lobbed us a softball on that one. You wanna take this up?
That's an easy one. One of the big points to having a super immersive set is to entertain everyone in the room, not just the puzzle people. The puzzle people are going to be entertained if the puzzles are well designed. But a completely integrated set and puzzle system and puzzle theming, dynamics, the dynamics of the puzzle need to be part of that same room. Everything needs to work together in one cohesive thing. And that kind of experience is the sort of thing that will draw in every moviegoer, video game player, puzzle person, everyone, not just the puzzle people. Again, this comes back to the simple game, or the one that's not incredibly immersive or even exotic, won't attract those people.
Learning the same 4-digit numbers as a ignition sequence to restart the hyperdrive is just way cooler than learning that same 4-digit number to input into the same puzzle to get to the next puzzle. That's just, if you're kind of like puzzle, it's not as cool. But if there is even the flimsiest pretense of what's going on, it really just helps you get involved and then just have more fun with the game.
We don't do flimsy.
I said it could be flimsy.
We also have a whole bunch of questions for you about budget and escape room sets. So the first question, what high bang for your buck techniques can you recommend?
That's going to depend very much on what tools you have. So again, for a vague answer, we're good at those, is use whatever tools you have. If you don't have a decent workshop if all you have is a circular saw and a hand drill, then you need to stay away from anything that's going to be a new build and just do that Victorian haunted house in the room where you're just getting furniture from whatever estate stale and using existing things. As you have more tools in your stable, that kind of starts expanding what you can do quickly and inexpensively.
Now that being said, if you are buying tools, then I would say that a compound miter saw, circular saw, drill, table saw are a minimum, and you're probably looking at less than $1,000 to get into all those tools. That being said, the stuff that you can buy off the shelf, so architectural trim. So if you want to do a Victorian design, do a raised panel molding design on the wall, use existing trim that you can buy off the shelf at Lowe's, you cut it to measure, stick it in the room, paint everything, and you have your Victorian room. Now, trying to do something more sculptural, I would stay away from stone because your labor alone is going to kill you there, and then the coating methods and stuff are not cheap. You can buy polyurethane foam pre-molded panels that are robust and replicate stone, but
Not cheap.
They're very expensive. So I would stay away, stick with what the sort of stuff you could do as a homeowner, and so that you're kind of stuck with an architectural set if you really want to do it for minimal budget and time.
Wait, Mark, I'm just gonna cut you off for a little follow-up. If you had to build a set in one day, you just have a single day to do it, what theme do you pick and why?
Trash pile. Pile of trash. Big pile of trash.
You gotta dig through the trash,
yeah.
swim through
Banana
the trash, lots of tetanusy needles.
It's the best kind of
It'll
tetanus.
be like a beach in New Jersey in the 80s.
Oh.
Yeah. I grew up in Jersey in the 80s.
Really talking about doing something at that speed, no. I don't think that's a viable thing. You would basically have to, yeah, it would be a warehouse setting, something with a bunch of cardboard boxes in it or something like that. Cheap, dirty, fast. So trash pile.
It would have to be, I guess, to get to the spirit of the question, it would have to be something we've already built, something we already have all the plans for, all of the game flow for, because just coming up with a game that's playable takes way more than 24 hours, let alone executing and installing.
And there's nothing that we've done that we could execute in a day anyway. There's no way. I mean, even stuff we have on the shelf, we couldn't put an entire game together in a day.
It'd be a very short game. It'd be like a 5-minute time limit. And,
Maybe 20.
And shot collars.
Yeah. Shot collars.
If you fail, it's shot collars.
Gotta love the shot collars.
What are your favorite cheap and dirty set building techniques, if you're willing to share?
I guess something
Your
going back.
mom is cheap and dirty.
You know she watches these, right?
That's so good.
All right. So going back to when we were doing set building for commercial photography, we would do a lot of quick sets because it was going to be used for 3 photographs and then destroyed forever. So we would do a lot of kind of fake trim, which uses real trim, but raised panel molding, which I can make some square gestures. We'll send you a picture that you can put up on the.
We have a stock set in the back we can take a picture of.
Okay.
We'll send you a picture of a stock set we have in the back that has this. It's a faux raised panel molding. It uses chair rail and PM5 or PM12, which is basically a smaller profile picture molding. You have large squares on the top and then smaller squares under the chair rail behind you. It's a very Victorian style. Normally the inset panel, the panel that would be inside the trim, would actually be recessed, and you can do it in a very efficient way that sells the same look but is a lot simpler to build.
Most people wouldn't really notice they're looking at the wrong thing. We do, because this is what we've done for years, is lie to people about what they're seeing.
Fake. Gotta love the fake. And your mom, by the way.
If you have to build a set on a shoestring budget, maybe it's just a prototype, what techniques and materials and approaches are you using to do that kind of work?
Prototyping and shoestring budget are kind of antithetical to each other, because prototyping, I've mentioned this in another video on our channel called Prototyping 101, or maybe it was 102.
It's 101.
Was it okay? I don't recall what course level it was. But one of the things when I do a prototype, I will intentionally use material that I cannot use for the final, to make myself not try to keep the original. So I have to do a redesign of the physical thing.
You'll get stuck into trying to iterate with the prototype to the point where you can use it as the final piece. That's a bad idea.
So the fact that you have to do it at least twice, and with different materials, kind of kills the shoestring part of that.
You're going to spend it in time, iterating with the prototype, and then doing, once you've thought through all the problems, doing the final piece.
There's a little piggyback on that one. We're getting a little off topic. We've had a lot of clients for various things, but like, oh, can you use this old thing and modify it? And 9 times in 10, it's actually more work and more time and more money to use the old thing in the new way rather than just, because we have the full fabrication shop, building a new one from scratch.
When somebody gives you a record player stand, a gramophone stand, that's all old construction, and they want you to modify it to make it do something, it's easier just to build a new gramophone stand and build the stuff and design it with the puzzle or whatever the other set piece functionalities are built within that.
Yeah, it's not shoestring budget, but you will save yourself in the long run of actually kind of doing it intentionally rather than just trying to band-aid some stuff together.
Next, we have a few personal questions for you folks.
We have some questions about your experiences. So the first question is, what's the most incredible set design that you've seen in an escape room or other immersive experience, and what made it so incredible?
To go with something that's not stroking our own egos, I'm going to go with the Haunted Mansion at Disney World that I saw when I was like 6 or 8, or I don't recall when that was. But there's the part where you're on you're in the car and you look in the mirror and there's the ghost behind you. I look behind me and there's no ghost, and it wigged me out because I had no idea how they did it.
I'm going to broaden this out. Disney does some fantastic stuff with simple processes, simple ideas. So the Pepper's Ghost,
Which is how they did
used
that.
multiple times there, the growing room, some very straightforward practical effects, and they have to be designed in such a way that they're going to work every time or very consistently throughout every ride. And remember, those rides are happening every 20 seconds. There are more cars in the ride than you even know about. The new Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge, is it Smuggler's Run? The name of the new ride, where you launch on a transport and end up on a Star Destroyer, and there are AT-ATs, and they're actually doubled with a mirror. Again, really simple ideas as set extensions that just blow you away when you're there playing it. And again, this is the sort of thing where you're in a car, you're not going to be able to walk up and touch the mirror and realize that there's no more space. But there are ways to do that in an escape room, where you can build things with a travel limiter of some sort. Either you're looking through a window or whatever that dynamic needs to be to make that happen.
What is your favorite prop that you've ever built? You have to pick one of your kids and say that it's your favorite.
I'm going to assume that because of the venue that we're in, that we're talking about escape room props. I know where that's going. We've done stuff for commercials. We've done stuff for film. We did a big animated piece with like Twitter tracking and counting stuff for Wells Fargo, and we've done a piece for the director Jon Favreau. We do enjoy the technical challenge aspect of
Space
shooting.
Toaster! Which is right now just a gray box because I haven't it plugged in, but...
The Space Toaster is made to be built into other stuff. So it's this mechanism here in a demo case, but it's made to be built into other stuff. So it's a great piece to build, and it can be iterated, expanded, lessened, and...
There we go. Now I'm on screen. And just the cards, it looks cool. It functions the way people don't really think that plexiglass functions. When you put the cards in, they light up. We've got a whole video on this. If you could put a link for that for your viewers who don't know our genius.
The other one is this guy, the little armored tough case with the electronic key that goes in right here. It's a neat little NeoPixel with its own read sequence. So everything generates its own sound, self-contained stuff, but it's also made to be built into something else. So the Space Toaster mechanism can be built into any tech room, and the armored case goes anywhere from sci-fi to, again, any sort of tech environment. You could even do this in an architectural room or whatever, but it's a self-contained, simple piece. This one's actually in pieces, so it's got loose stuff on the inside.
What is in there?
I don't know.
Oh, I want to find out now.
We have to find the lock or the key.
Gotta play the game.
The other one, and you may have seen this, is the optical rifle that we made called the Moloculus Model of 1898 for Jon Favreau. That was a really fun piece that we worked on for quite a while.
So pick one.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
Space
one
Toaster.
Space Toaster.
So Here's another question. Not sure who this one came from. If you had just set up kind of a little home recording studio, maybe in your attic, maybe it has some weird shaped walls and a bookcase behind it, what would you recommend doing to spiffy up that set?
I mean, I'm looking at you right now, and I see the sort of non-geometric or
It's very geometric.
asymmetric room that you're in. I'd say you cheat a little bit close, put a potted plant maybe behind you, between the two of you.
Like a rubber duck.
Yes, it needs a rubber duck.
On to everybody's favorite subject. Let's talk a little bit about safety when it comes to set design and builds. How do you guys ensure that a set is public proof? How sturdy is sturdy enough?
We've got a saying in the Marine Corps. We have a lot of sayings in the Marine Corps.
Marine.
One of which is, if you leave a lance corporal, i.e. a junior enlisted person, in a locked room with an anvil for 1 hour, and you come back, that anvil is going to be lost, broken, or pregnant.
The same thing's true for the public. There is no such thing as public proof. Public resistant is certainly a goal. The thing is that I think the biggest difference is that we have a materials library that we've developed over years of different types of plastics and machining materials, casting materials, even like wood products such as MDF. That's actually a lot tougher than MDF. And so we have that library to draw from to make things really tough. Now, one thing I'll point out is that if something gets really hard, it becomes easier to chip. Something that has a little bit of give to it is more likely to scratch but not to chip. And again, it's what sort of wear are you willing to accept, because that will be a factor. Everything will wear in the public's hands or get pregnant.
A good material we like is the sheet PVC that we actually use on the space toaster, because it will, if you leave a corner on it, it might get chipped, as Mark just said, but it is the same color all the way through, so even if it does get scratched or chipped, you're not seeing down to wood or Bondo or plaster below it.
Yeah, solid color materials are always an advantage, or often an advantage.
So yeah, we kind of got to know where people are going to be touching, putting their hands, and what surfaces are going to get the most worn, and then extra reinforce those.
Any loose parts will be dropped many times. People are handing stuff to each other, they're fumbling around, and the addition of a ticking clock gives everybody a little bit of a sense of panic or rush, and they will not handle, no matter how well you brief them, they will not handle it as gently as they would if it were their own stuff.
Yeah, they will throw it across the room because it's fun.
What is your approach to safety in set design, specifically fire safety?
How do you make sure that emergency exits are clear enough for players to find in the event of an emergency while still creating a properly immersive environment? Do you have any techniques or materials that you recommend or recommend avoiding?
So if you take some opaque flash paper and you put that over the exit sign, as soon as there's a fire, like one little spark will touch that, it'll flash out of the way, and there's your...
That's a joke.
No, don't. Exit signs are kind of sacrosanct, because no one wants to... I'm scared now.
Dinosaurs?
Oh, okay, it was going to be funny if I just put it right in my mouth, but it got stuck, and so...
Answer the question. People are waiting.
They're on fire because they're still waiting. We will not cover exit signs. It's a little unfortunate from a purely aesthetic design sense that your tomb has an exit sign, because American Fire Code, for very good reason, requires fire exits to be marked. But generally, they're up high, and if you have enough cool stuff going on, no one's really going to notice the fire exit until they're like, oh God, we're on fire, where's the exit?
Their eyes will pass over it. It's a fire exit. We all know that we're on Earth, and you'll have to just deal with that as far as suspension of disbelief goes. But if the room itself is immersive enough, it just fades into the distance.
This one's empty.
Did you drink it?
I did. Well,
That's the only one I
someone
had.
drank it before that because it was empty. Harold, did you drink the dinosaur?
Aside from safety and build time, what are the three biggest issues that do-it-yourself set constructors struggle with?
I already spoke a little while ago about materials library. And I think most people who build in a DIY kind of way, people who are trying to build their own stuff, they are limited by the library that's available at their local home improvement store, Home Depot, etc. And that's sort of where it stops. There's a massive industrial library out there that if you can acquaint yourself with, it will help things tremendously.
Spend the extra couple of dollars on better plywood. Your town probably has a lumber yard in it somewhere. Don't just get the grade big box store plywood, because 9 times in 10 it's warped garbage. You want to get the better stuff. And
Aruco AC 3/4 inch and 1/2 inch plywood. Arauco, ARAUCO. AC, which is, so it's sanded to A grade on one side, C grade on the other side. The next step up would be Baltic birch plywood. They're more expensive. We're looking at probably $50 a sheet. But your build will go. It'll help you every which way you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, materials is worth it, and design and order of operations. So rather than just jumping in there and saying, I'm going to make a table, here's 4 sticks for legs, and start nailing stuff together, know exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And a lot of that just comes down to experience with the materials and the techniques. Before I even purchase any materials, I've already designed 2, maybe 3 versions of something in CAD. I use Google SketchUp. So that I basically already have a cut list before I even have to go start buying materials.
Design it first, think it through, prototype it the way we discussed in Prototyping 101. It's going to save you a lot in the long run. You're going to get a much better piece, and it'll function that much better and be designed to be what it is. It's not something you kind of cobbled together. Stay away from cobbling things together.
Unless it's shoes. Shoes need to be cobbled.
That's a fact.
And now we're going to pause.
A lot of you asked a ton of questions about rocks, and they're strangely really good questions, and we want to make sure that the Gratuitous Sets folks have enough time to really dig into their rock collection.
We will see you on the next video for more about rocks.